Welcome, friends, to the 2020 Sarah Farmer Peace Award. Now, I'm recording this after the event is over. We had a little technical difficulties at the start of the program, so I'm recording a message here. The good part about that is I'm going to keep it a lot shorter. Essentially, what I wanted to share, and what I shared that evening, was some reflections on Royaline B. Edwards, and how those reflections about her should inform all of us of how to be. And one of those reflections was the inner work, the inner transformation that we should all be dedicating ourselves to if we want to, in turn, make this world a better place. The second reflection on meeting Royaline and what I shared that evening was we should all strive to do something extraordinary in this world. Now, she produced an entire play with casts of dozens of children. And what we can do might be something much smaller, which is say hello to our neighbor. It's to be loving towards someone of a different race or cultural background. And this combination of the inner work and the extraordinary deeds, I think, will give this world a chance. And is the reason why we're celebrating Royaline this evening. Friends, we hope you enjoy the program. You'll see clips from Royaline's play, Listen to the Drums, a reflection on the life of Harriet Tubman. You'll also hear from her friends. You'll also hear from past winners to see what they're doing to keep these efforts of peace initiatives alive and well in their communities. Thank you so much, friends, for coming, and look forward to seeing you soon when Green Acre can welcome you actually on campus. Thank you, friends.
On the banks of the Piscataqua River in Eliot, Maine, stands an historic edifice. Built as a resort hotel in 1899, the Green Acre Inn became the site for international conferences focused on peace, racial unity, gender equality, and other progressive ideals. Who was its founder? What did she believe? Why is she associated with peace? And why was the inn eventually named after her? Sarah Farmer was the daughter of transcendentalists sympathetic to people living in bondage and experiencing oppression. Their home in Dover, New Hampshire became a way station on the Underground Railroad. Friends included reformers such as Sojourner Truth and Harriet Beecher Stowe, both of whom came to their home to visit, as well as Harriet Tubman, Julia Ward Howe, and other progressive leaders. Moses Farmer was an inventor who pioneered in the telegraph field and created the fire alarm system. He also constructed the technology for an electromagnetic locomotive. Hannah Farmer was a philanthropist who helped save the Old North Church in Boston from being torn down. During the Civil War, she sent supplies to Southern hospitals. In Eliot, she created Rosemary Cottage, a summer retreat for poor mothers and their children from Boston. When Sarah was 1, they moved to Salem, Massachusetts, where Moses was appointed operator in the Salem Telegraph Office. When Sarah was 12, Moses lit up their parlor with a row of incandescent lights, the first time electricity had been used to provide lighting. Thomas Edison was also only 12 then. Sarah spent her teen years in Salem. She was smart and well-liked, and at graduation served as the valedictorian of her high school. In 1872, when Sarah was 25, her family moved from Salem to Newport, Rhode Island, where Moses served as a professor of electrical science and a consultant to the U.S. Navy. But Moses became seriously ill, and Sarah's health was poor. They decided to move to Eliot, Maine, Hannah's family home, to enjoy the benefits of country living. Sarah found herself caring for both parents and had what was then called a nervous collapse, then benefited by the popular cure of an extended trip to Europe. On the ship, Sarah had an image of herself as vain and selfish. She vowed to devote the rest of her life to service. At home, Sarah revived the Eliot Library Association and organized evenings of discussions on literature. She spoke in churches and other venues to raise library funds. The poet John Greenleaf Whittier was a family friend, and she persuaded him to donate an entire collection of books. Today, over the mantel in a room of Eliot's William Fogg Library, hangs a beautiful portrait of Sarah and her dog Barry. In 1889, 4 men formed the Eliot Hotel Company to build a resort hotel in Eliot. On March 1, 1890, Sarah signed an agreement to become the 5th partner of the venture. In 1891, Hannah died. To distract her mind from her troubles, Sarah attended lectures in Boston. One day in June 1892, she had a vision of Green Acre as a place where various philosophies and religions could find expression. In March 1893, Moses and Sarah went to Chicago to exhibit some of his inventions at the World's Columbian Exposition, also known as the Chicago World's Fair. Moses exhibited his light bulb and electric car at the fair, but became ill with pneumonia and died there. Sarah, deep in grief, returned to Eliot. A few months later, a Parliament of the World's Religions was held in Chicago as part of the Columbian Exposition. Sarah returned to Chicago just after the closing of the Parliament. She met with its organizer and invited Vivekananda, a Hindu from Calcutta, and Dharamapala, a Buddhist from Ceylon, now Sri Lanka, to speak at Green Acre. That following summer, in 1894, Sarah dedicated Green Acre to the ideals of peace and religious unity. Then she had the first known peace flag in the world raised and explained, "In looking for an emblem, we wanted something that would be a call to everybody and fit everybody, and we felt that the message that had been brought to the world by prophet after prophet was the message of peace. So we've put on a large banner over our heads, peace." The peace flag was 36 feet long with green letters on a white background. It hung on an 85-foot pole created from 2 ships' masts tied together. During the next decade, Green Acre and Sarah became known in many circles. Educators and social reformers came to exchange views. By 1897, Green Acre was much publicized in the United States and known around the world. Discussion topics were quite advanced. Evolution was a hot topic, and participants at Green Acre often took a progressive look at the debate over it. Race, too, was a subject that provoked divisions, yet Sarah supported social advancement with a Work in Education project where African American families from the South spent time in Maine. People of color were invited to lecture, the most prominent of whom were George Washington Carver and W.E.B. Du Bois. In 1903, an article in the Boston Sunday Journal reported, "Years ago, intellectual Boston would have gone out to Concord for spiritual regeneration. Today, the inner circle of intellectual Boston goes to Green Acre." Despite favorable activities and development, there were difficulties. Many wondered if she should be in charge of the programs and operations. Financial difficulties prevailed. Distraught, Sarah left for a cruise with her friend Mariah Wilson. On January 3, 1900, they boarded a ship bound for the Mediterranean, joining 2 old friends who were going to Akka, Palestine, now Israel, to visit Abdul-Baha, the son of the prophet founder of the Baha'i faith, Baha'u'llah. There, Abdul-Baha confirmed her vision for Green Acre, and she felt she had found a path representing universal truths. In 1904, a war raged between Russia and Japan, but peace continued to be promoted at Green Acre. The following year, Portsmouth, New Hampshire was chosen as a site of negotiations for a treaty to end the war. President Theodore Roosevelt invited delegates from Russia and Japan to consult at the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, only a few miles from Green Acre. The delegates could see Sarah's peace flag flying from where they met. Finally, the news that a peace treaty was to be signed was announced. Sarah invited the peace delegates and President Roosevelt to Green Acre for a special victory celebration. Roosevelt sent a letter of regret, and the Russian diplomat Vita also declined on behalf of his entourage, but the Japanese peace envoys came. On September 5, 1905, the day of the signing of the treaty, Sarah went to the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. Because she was well known and respected, she was given a pass into the shipyard. All of the invited guests were men who held important positions. Sarah asked to witness the signing of the treaty. She was not allowed to do so. But an Eliot man by the name of Alfonso Staples saw her and invited her up to his office in the adjacent building, where he pushed a table up to the window and had her stand on it and look across to the room where the envoys were to sign the peace treaty. In a newspaper account in 1905, Sarah is quoted, "The candle across the way threw out its cheering message, and with a feeling at my heart deeper than any words can convey, I said softly to myself, 'How far that little candle throws its beams,' and I breathed a prayer that this time might be the last, that a peace treaty would need to be made to end a war between men who should be brothers." In 1912, Abdu'l-Baha came to Green Acre for a week as part of an 8-month journey across America. He and Sarah visited the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, and again he confirmed her vision of her beloved Green Acre. Green Acre has evolved over the years and exists today as a beacon of hope and progress for many. Abdu'l-Baha predicted that Sarah Farmer would in the future be seen as the envy of the queens of all regions and the rival of all the celebrated people of the world. And perhaps, as both of them envisioned, the world will establish a lasting and sustainable peace.
Now I'm going to bring in a fellow committee member, Melinda Salazar, who will present on the Sarah Farmer Peace Award website. Melinda, if you want to come on in the room.
Hi, thank you, Frank and Marty and everyone so far, and Anne and Tim. That was pretty remarkable. I am so thrilled that you are all here tonight. It's hard to believe that it was just a year ago on the same night we came together at Green Acre in Eliot, Maine to honor our 10th recipient, Erin Kate Lee. I so much miss seeing your face, your warm faces, and feeling your hugs. Tonight's gathering feels like such a healing balm against the backdrop of the last few days and our recent events. I really thank you all for being here with us in this virtual world. In 2005, the members of the Bahá'í Community, if we could have the slide, please. In 2005, members of the Bahá'í Community of the Greater Seacoast Region wanted to acknowledge the actions of individuals or groups in our area whose work addressed what in peace studies scholarship refers to as positive peace. That is, being a constructive and a unifying force in a way that encourages the transformation of values and attitudes in our social structures and ecosystems, such as community decision-making, sustainability, children and family, dialogue and negotiation, and the arts. Of the previous 10 Peace Laureates who have received the Sarah Farmer Peace Award, we have presentations from 6 recipients tonight, although I did see Jim Nukas's name appear, and so please do, if we have an opportunity to get you in to talk about, I don't want to put you on the spot, but to talk about Portsmouth Listens, that would be great. We've asked the awardees to share with us how their peace building has been informed by this year's dramatic conditions, such as climate change, COVID-19, isolation, or shifting economies. The first group that we're going to hear from tonight is the Teaching Peace Conference. The Teaching Peace that's me again. The Teaching Peace Conference was a tri-state educational event from 2006 to 2008 that brought together the peace-building community, such as teachers, scholars, activists, researchers, organizers, parents, and community groups from around the Seacoast area and beyond, actually. We met at the Oyster River High School in Durham, where myself and Kay Morgan taught. After we retired from teaching at that high school, we then formed the Seacoast Peace Academy. The next slide, please. In 2015, where we wanted to reach teachers and students and did everything we could to get involved in schools, but found being out of schools was actually a little bit more difficult. So we sponsored about 20 different community events on areas around peace building, and you can see all of the various topics on our website, the Seacoast Peace Academy. Next slide, please. During the 2019-20, this past school year, with the help of a grant through the Grassroots Fund, we did manage to get back into schools, and we continue to partner with high school students in the Portsmouth High School and Oyster River High School, and the partner groups that those youth leaders were involved in, 350 NH and New Hampshire Listens. The overall goal of the work of that grant was to develop leadership skills in the areas of racial and environmental justice. The grant enabled us to bring outside facilitators into the schools to deepen the work we had begun that previous year more informally. The onset of COVID-19 and the subsequent closing of schools, unfortunately, brought an end to our work and our ability to continue projects with those students. But we do hope to continue our work with youth leadership now, because more than ever, we need the energy, the vision, the creativity of the next generation.
So friends, we're going to hear from some other previous winners. And it's funny, this is only my second year on the committee. And when we were doing this, I was like, why are you bringing these previous winners back? You know, what's going on with that? But then what I realized and what was shared with me is this is not about receiving an award and then it's one and done. This is about people who are continually in this field of work. And so to give them a chance to come back and share what they're doing now was the reason, and I bought into it. So next up, we are going to see a video by Bert Cohen, and he is with the Piscataqua Sustainability Initiative.
Good evening. It's a delight to be here this evening. I'm happy to be part of celebrating Royaline Edwards for the work she has done in our community for many years. I look forward to hearing what she will be saying later on. I was asked, what is it that I've done since I received my Peace Award? I'm still working with sustainability, and over the last several years, I've discovered an incredible tool which will help us get to a climate-safe planet. The tool has 100 items that are rank ordered as to what will be most effective in bringing down greenhouse gases. The list is based on science and is continually evolving. And what I'm happy to announce is that the Blue Ribbon Committee on Sustainable Practice for the City of Portsmouth, the Public Library, C-Ray, and the Sustainable Alliance will be putting on a webinar. And the webinar will take place on October 22nd. And everybody who is watching this evening is invited to join that webinar. You can get more details from a poster we will be putting out at the library. A little bit more about the drawdown project. The items are both large and small, personal and global. And what's really wonderful about the plan is all 100 things will need to be done. And each of us can make a contribution in terms of where we have our greatest leverage. So just for a glimpse of what drawdown is about, I have a list of the top 10 items on the list. I'll hold it up and just talk about a few. There's the list. And number one is pretty big. It's refrigerant management. When I first saw that, I had no idea what it meant. But reading in the book, the 3 or 4 pages, I got a bigger picture of what that was. But what really got to me on a personal level was number 3 and 4, which is food waste. A third of the world's food, or quarter to a third, goes to waste, is never eaten. And eating a plant-based diet. Both of these I've been able to take action on myself and feel like I'm making my contribution on that level. 2 young folks who sat on our committee from the high school eco club, they loved number 6, which was educating girls. And how would I ever imagine that the 6th most important thing to do on the planet in terms of climate change or climate crisis is to educate girls. It's a wonderful chapter, maybe 3, 4, or 5 pages to read and get that kind of information. So we will discuss the drawdown items and what we can do about it in the webinar on the 22nd. So I hope you can join us, get information from the library, from the poster to see how you can sign up. We should have that up soon. And I now look forward to seeing the rest of the program. Thanks for this time.
Thank you so much, Bert. Now we're going to hear from Tegan, and please tell me if I get this right, Kurzanowski from Friends Forever.
You got it perfectly, actually, which is very impressive. Hello, everybody. I am very excited to be here tonight as we honor Royaline B. Edwards. Her work is just amazing, and I am so excited to have you as one of the fellow Sarah Farmer Peace Laureates. Uh, for those of you who don't know, my name is Tegan Krasnowski. I am the Programs and Community Engagement Manager at Friends Forever International. Friends Forever International is an organization located in Durham, New Hampshire, that empowers youth leaders to connect, strengthen, and serve communities around the globe by combining their passion to make the world a better place with the skills, experiences, and resources required to do so. Traditionally, Friends Forever was founded out of conflict zones, so working with Catholics and Protestants in Northern Ireland, and then our work moved on to working with Israelis and Palestinians in the Middle East. Working with youth to bring them together over the commonalities that they have and their common goals to solve a conflict that has raged on in their lands for a long period of time. Over the course of the last few months, it has become clear that the world could use more empathetic leaders. And as Melinda said, in Friends Forever's mind, that starts with youth and the next generation. And the importance of FFI doesn't stop during a global pandemic, it increases. In 2020, we witnessed early on the power of Friends Forever. In March, just after the pandemic hit, our alumni from all over the world organically started organizing and facilitating daily workshops for the alumni movement. These are young leaders from Northern Ireland, from Israel, from Cyprus, from right here in the United States. These workshops ranged from everything from teaching each other how to do origami, to workshops about how to be productive in the home, to higher level speech writing and debate, to trivia. Anything was fair game that an alumni was interested in for a workshop. And right before our eyes, we witnessed alumni from around the globe bonding, becoming friends, learning together, despite never actually occupying the same physical space. In a way, it was the first time that a lot of these alumni had the chance to interact and meet, and it brought the alumni movement closer together. This then translated to our alumni working with our first year participants to facilitate key leadership programs all through Zoom. Then they started working with community organizations. Our alumni had the opportunity to do a four-month process with Riverwoods, an elderly facility in Exeter, New Hampshire, that put on virtual programs for the elderly population. We valued this so much because these were during the global pandemic, was the population that was most at risk and also most vulnerable to isolation. We had the opportunity to partner with community organizations like Arts and Reach, just in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, to put on virtual workshops for their young people. And we also started a higher level training for our young people in a conflict transformation conversation style called Conversation with Other. This intense program was high level alumni that came from Israeli and Palestinian backgrounds and came together to talk about themselves, talk about the conflict in their culture, and see how they can make a platform for peace in a better way and learn how to hear each other, listening for their facts, their feelings, and their values in each individual statement, which has become more and more an important thing to keep in mind as the United States focuses on their own issues with conflict here in our land. All of this in 2020 guided FFI to establish a virtual leadership curriculum that is aimed at providing connection and leadership skills that are virtually digestible for young people. All of our virtual programs emphasize connection with each other at a time when that is so important. And now, just as of 2 weeks ago this September, FFI has opened up our program to direct applicants with options for both virtual and hybriding programs. This means that Friends Forever programs are now accessible for any young person aged 15 to 18. FFI is uniquely positioned to offer genuine cultural exchange with our own proven leadership curriculum to make the difference and build leaders. This is what we do, virtual or in person. This is the opportunity that COVID-19 has given Friends Forever, and we're excited to look to the future and move into this new era as an organization. Thank you very much.
Thank you to the Sarah Farmer Peace Award Committee and the Bahá'í Community for this opportunity. I was the 2009 recipient for my project called Woven Voices, Messages from the Heart. From 2007 to 2012, I guided this interactive global peace project inspired by Buddhist paper prayers and Tibetan prayer flags. I solicited images of positive intent written on anything flexible. These messages were read out loud in Market Square in Portsmouth over a series of about 2.5 years, 12 readings through all kinds of weather. Then the messages were cut up and woven into small prayer flags with these messages embedded into them. These flags were then sent all over the world to release their messages of healing and peace. What I discovered then, and continues to this day, is that it is the human connection in my community art projects that is the gift, the jewel. It is the conversations that happened between those who gathered in Market Square to read, or to weave in my studio, or to sew the flags, or to hang them in public places. It is one heart connecting to another across barriers and through diversity. My definition of weaving is the action of taking separate things and putting them together in a structure. On my loom, I take linen thread and alternate one up and one down to create my cloth. In my community art projects, I weave lives together by creating situations where one person can cross paths with another, to have a conversation, to find common threads in dialogue. Now in my studio, I'm exploring what I perceive are common themes of heartache, longing, fear, regret, and curiosity. I attempt to tease out if these yearnings are mine alone, attached to my ego, or those from a larger insight. I feel small while asking these big questions. All spring I wanted to tether myself to a bird to gain perspective on our pandemic-divided world. I feel adrift with the unpredictable nature of our times. I work with organic materials that are especially susceptible to change. I subject my hand-woven linens to weathering, rust, bleach, and dyes. This intentional abuse of my cloth confronts my own attachment to permanence and my futile attempts to halt the aging process in my own body. Change and metamorphosis, the common denominator of all life, are at the core of my artistic expression. If there is one lesson to learn from COVID-19, it is that we are all vulnerable. Some more than others, it's true. I suggest that when we develop an awareness of our common vulnerability and mortality, perhaps we will adopt a wider compassion for all, dissolving boundaries. This is the pathway to peace and justice for all beings, dissolving boundaries. Thank you so much.
So we are going to move on to Leslie Smith, Sammy the Snail, and she's going to join us, and then we will see a video from her. So Leslie, if you want to come on in the room.
Hey, there we are. There we are. This is so much fun. Hi, everybody. I'd like to introduce Sammy, who received the Peace Award not that long ago. Yeah, I did. And we wanted to say that we've been sad that we haven't been out there live and in the schools, but we have been enjoying the ability to reach out through video. And it is so important. I'm so glad that you really got it, Frank, that we all come back together and share what's going on and keep each person ignited, because I think that's what the Peace Award has really done for so many of us small artists. Is it's been such a great recognition of what one person can do. And so thank you for bringing us all together.
And I like sweet potato pie. So I'll have it with you, Royaline.
And we have a video we want to show you. And thank you to everyone that's here and everyone that's going to be watching this in the future.
We love you. Hi, my friends. I'm glad to see you.
We just wanted to give you a present, and we haven't talked with everybody in a long time, and we wanted to do something inspirational for everyone. What do you think about that, Sam?
I like to do a cover.
You want to sing a cover?
I'm going to sing a cover.
What's cover you going to do?
I'm going to do Andra Day's song.
Oh,
because she's my favorite singer.
she is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, then go take it away. I'm going to give you some music. You're broken down and tired, living life on a merry-go-round,
and you can't find the fighter. But I see it in you, so we're going to walk it out.
Move mountains,
we're going to walk it out.
Move mountains.
I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again.
That's right. And I'll rise up, high like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up,
and I'll do it 1,000 times again.
And when the silence isn't quiet, it feels like it's getting hard to breathe.
And I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet.
And move
mountains, we'll bring it to its feet.
Move mountains.
And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day.
I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up,
and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, you and you and you, and for you, for you.
All we need is hope.
And for that, we have each other. For that, we have each other.
We will rise, we will rise, we will rise.
We will rise. Yes, we will.
Rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up,
in spite of the ache.
I'll rise up
1,000 times again.
We'll rise up, we'll rise like the waves. We'll rise up
in spite of the aches. We'll rise up. We'll do it 1,000 times. For you. And you.
Don't be afraid.
We're gonna get through this. It's gonna be okay. We're rising up, my friends, children, parents, and adults all over the world. I love you. Bye from Sammy Snail and Leslie Smith. Good job, Leslie. Thank you, Sam. Good job with you, buddy. I love you.
Thank you, Leslie. No, matter how many times I see that, I'm still mesmerized by anyone who can do ventriloquism that way. Friends, our last presenter actually sent in a video, and she was last year's winner. And this is poet Erin Lee. So let's watch her video presentation.
Hello, my name is Erin Lee. I'm making this video because I can't be with you on the Zoom call tonight. I do very much support this tradition, and I'm honored to have received the award last year. Even more honored to have been able to be with you at the Bahá'í Center last September. It was a highlight of my life, truly. I was accompanied by some young poets, and one of them has written a poem for this occasion that I'd like to read to you. Her name is Maylee Yoder. She's a 17-year-old poet, reader, and hopefully, she says, future librarian. I roll the word peace around in my mouth like a bite of food I'm not quite ready to swallow. I'm trying to find a room in my stomach next to all this anger, so I keep this word against my tongue. I keep this word like prayer. I'm trying to make space for it, but every time I do, anger brings a torch to my lungs. All the while, the mind keeps drifting. I feel to peace what a moth must feel to flame. Perhaps it isn't something to have, but something to give. What a moth must feel to flame, I feel to peace. All the while the mind keeps dreaming of a torch for the night. There must be a way to stay warm without burning away. I am trying to fold peace into the world, like one kneads flour into bread. I am trying to build peace into the foundations of my actions. The world is aching all over, and I am trying to make hands more gentle. It is a hope that glints like broken glass. Peace is a word that the world is trying to learn. It is fragile in our hands. Thank you, Maylee, and congratulations to this year's recipient, whom I have not met in person, but Ms. Royaline Edwards, congratulations to you. That's a great honor, and I'm sure you deserve it. I really wish I could be there to give you a virtual hug, but it's hard not to give real hugs. Anyway, I'm going to end with a poem that I wrote. It received a little attention this year and got published a couple places. It's called Thicket. Today I stood out in the strong morning sun with my eyes closed, letting its lasered beams drill my third eye. There were swirls, just like the currents of a great river, pouring from a center of creation the opposite of a black hole. A prism gulf washing over all, volcanic twists of colored light. Another universe may be building, may spill forth to replace this thicket of mistakes we call home. Thank you.
I'd like to now introduce Jerry Ann Bogus, who will share some reflections on Royaline. Jerry Ann Bogus is the director of the Portsmouth Black Heritage Trail, a writer, educator, and community activist who works to correct the historical record on the racial complexity and richness of New Hampshire's diverse past. Though the development of several community programs that focus on history and race, Bogus has raised the awareness of New Hampshire's little-known people of color and increased the visibility of Black history in the state. She believes that diversity programming is more than listening to a speaker or lighting a candle. It's about social change. The programs she creates are powerful, noticed, yet social and engaging. In 2015, Bogus was named by the New Hampshire Humanities Council as one of the 40 most influential New Hampshireites who have vastly enriched human understanding and whose original works and passion for excellence have put New Hampshire on the cultural map. Jerry Ann, if you would join us, turn your video and audio on, and welcome.
Thank you so much. And it is a deep pleasure and with great honor that I have been asked to introduce this year's award recipient of the Sarah Farmer Peace Award. It is an award that recognizes the contribution of an area, individual, or group who strives to promote world peace and understanding. And in this year, when current events, the COVID-19 pandemic, the murder of George Floyd, and the subsequent protests that have focused attention on historic and present-day racial injustice and inequalities, no one more exemplifies the qualities of a peacemaker than Royaline Edwards. And she uses the building blocks of love, of joy, respect, integrity, and perseverance to enhance and promote well-being. And as my friend and my colleague, I'd like to take a moment just to share with you a brief bio of Royaline Edwards so you can see the depth and breadth of this woman we're honoring tonight. Royaline was born in Griffin, Georgia during the Great Migration. She and her parents and 5 siblings moved to Columbus, Ohio. She was educated in the public schools there until her stepfather accepted a pastorate at a church in Hillsborough, Texas. Both moves had a long-lasting effect on the paths Royaline would take as she grew up. After completing high schools in 1955, she became the first in her family to attend college, receiving her Bachelor of Science degree from Jarvis Christian College in Hawkins, Texas in 1959. She was offered a 4-year scholarship in library sciences at Atlanta University in Georgia, but elected to take a position with the federal government in Washington, D.C. Interested in becoming a teacher, she enrolled at Howard University for required prerequisite courses before enrolling at D.C. Teachers College. However, in that time, she got married to Kelvin Edwards, moved to Kittery, and she precluded completion of the requirements of her teaching credentials. She and Kelvin are the parents of 2 children, Trent and Elisa. They have 5 grandchildren. Rekindling her interest in teaching, she enrolled at UNH to resume the coursework needed to complete the requirements for certification, and taught kindergarten in Kittery for a short period. She later accepted a teaching position in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, at the 1st grade level and taught there for over 32 years. In 1998, while working in Portsmouth, she earned a Master's of Science degree in Education at the University of New England. Royaline loved teaching and working with children and decided after retirement to continue her presence in that area as an artist in residence at various schools on the Seacoast. She worked with teachers and students in the presentation of an original play, Listen to the Drums, a tribute to Harriet Tubman, which she wrote. She also continued her love for teaching by serving as a guest teacher until she became serious about her second love, writing, and enrolled in several writing courses. Her first writing course eventually produced her first published book, A Ribbon for Sammy, where Her second course produced her recent published book, Candy. It gives me great pleasure to present to you Royaline Edwards.
Just to let the audience know, we pre-recorded Royaline, although she is here live, and we'll see her pre-recorded message and some clips from her show. As you watch clips from her show, this is where you can write in the Q&A box questions you might have for her, and then she will take a few questions after we roll the video.
Good evening to all of you who have joined us on this very special occasion, celebration of the Sarah Jane Farmer Peace Award ceremony. To Robert Shapiro and Frank Robinson, co-administrators, and the award committee here at Green Acre, thank you for making this evening possible. To those of you in the audience, my personal family, near and far away, my church family, my friends and colleagues, also near and far away, and to those of you whom I don't know, I thank you all for your presence. When I received word that the committee had chosen me as the 2020 recipient, I was both excited and humbled by the news. When I think of the words love, joy, peace, I think of Sarah Farmer. When I think of the words perseverance, gentleness, goodness, I think of Sarah Farmer. When I think of the words faith, meekness, and temperance, I think of Sarah Farmer. From my point of view, Sarah Jane Farmer embodied all these qualities that exemplify the true meaning of the fruit of the Spirit. My knowledge of Sarah Farmer began when my husband and I began a friendship with Green Acre over 20 years ago under administrators Dick Grover and later Jim Sacco. I learned something surprising about Sarah's parents. They were associated with the abolitionists, and their home was a way station on the Underground Railroad. This brings me to my special presentation this evening, clips from Listen to the Drums, a tribute to Harriet Tubman, a play penned by me during my teaching years at Dondero Elementary School. The venue was the Seacoast Repertory Theater. Cast members include the following: Dondero and Little Harbor School, the Portsmouth Christian Academy, a youth group from New Hope Baptist Church, Eliot Elementary School in Eliot, Maine, Marshwood Middle School in South Berwick, Maine, and 3 interns from Seacoast Rep.
Shades preacher, and self-styled prophet. I also speak out on women's rights. Frederick Douglass is a close friend. He addressed the Portsmouth, New Hampshire Female Anti-Slavery Society in December 1844.
Who are you and what did you do?
My name is Frederick Douglass. I am known as the father of the protest movement. My speeches are fiery because I hate slavery to its ugly and nasty core. I started my own abolitionist newspaper, The North Star. My most famous speech came in a 4th of July celebration in Rochester, New York in 1852, and I quote a few lines. What to the American slave is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all of the days of the year, the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham. Your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless. Your shouts of liberty and equality, hollow mockery, a thin veil to cover up crimes that would disgrace a nation.
Howdy, y'all. Bill Pickett is my name. I was born in Texas in 1870. I wrestled steer by using a technique I learned from watching bulldogs round up cattle. I was publicly acclaimed by President Teddy Roosevelt and performed throughout Europe and the United States. I was often assisted by two young whites, Tom Mix and Will Rogers. In 1932, a horse kicked me in the head, bringing my roundup days to an end. And me too. I was considered the most famous African-American rodeo cowboy. And in 1971, I was the first African-American to be inducted into the National Cowboy Hall of Fame.
Michigan in 1959. We signed with Motown in 1950 and had many hits. I won an Oscar nomination for my portrayal of Billie Holiday in Lady Sings the Blues.
My name is Oprah. I began my career in 1956 as a TV talk show host based in Chicago. I was given a Horatio Aldo Award for those who overcome diversity and become leaders in their fields. My show, The Oprah Winfrey Show, is syndicated on 128 stations across the United States. In addition, as its star and producer, I received a Woman of Achievement Award from the National Organization of Women. I also founded my own TV and movie production company, Harpo.
Now, back to the past, we make our way to listen to the special lady of the day.
Excuse me, miss, who might you be? I was born Armenteras. I have no formal education, but what I do have is a strong religious belief that one day I'll be free. I had a very hard life as a slave from a child to an adult. I hated slavery. I wanted my own name, so I changed it to Harriet. When I married John, I became Harriet Tubman. I was also called Moses by many. Listen.
Go down
over 300 people out of slavery. I never ran my train off the track, and I never lost a passenger. Listen. One night I dreamed I was in slavery. About 1850 was the time. Sorrow was the only sign. There's nothing about to ease my mind. Out of the night appeared a lady leading a distant pilgrim's band. First mate, she cried, pointing her hand, "Make room aboard for this young woman. Come on up, I got a lifeline. Come on up to this train of mine. Come on up, I got a lifeline. Come on up to this train of mine." They said her name was Harriet Tubman, and she drove for the Underground Railroad. Hundreds of miles we traveled onward, gathering slaves from town to town, seeking all the lost and found, setting those free that once were bound. Somehow my heart was growing deeper. I fell by the wayside, sinking sand. Firmly did this lady stand. She lifted me up and she took my hand. Come on up, I got a lifeline. Come on up to this train of mine. Come on up, I got a lifeline. Come on up to this train of mine. They said her name was Harriet Tubman, and she drove for the Underground Railroad.
Harriet Tubman was active in the Civil War as personal assistant to General Montgomery. After the Emancipation Proclamation, she helped newly freed slaves adjust to their new citizenship. Later, she founded the Harriet Tubman Home for the Aged. She raised money for the education of former slaves and participated in the New England Anti-Slavery Society with Susan B. Anthony.
There's a wind stirring in the air.
Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He hath loosed his faithful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is
Listen to the drums. Listen to the drums right now. Listen with your ears. Listen with your eyes. Listen with your heart as we now depart. Listen, listen, listen.
Royaline, on behalf of the Sarah Farmer Peace Award Committee, we offer you this peace flag as an award for all of the work that you have done with children and in writing. And we are honored to give you this flag, like the one Sarah Farmer hoisted at Green Acre in Eliot, Maine at the turn of the century. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. This has been an honor.
Woo! Royaline, if you could join us. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. So first question, when are you doing this again?
Well, I'm not sure. I have to wait for the teachers to get in touch with me, and then we get started on getting it produced.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, we have a couple of questions if you are okay with a couple of questions. The first one is, what was the effect on the, especially maybe in particular the white children, trying to embody these characters of great African American import? What did you notice an effect on them as they tried to embody these characters?
Absolutely. Before, I usually have a talk with the teachers, and we talk about what the play is going to look like, and then I have a proactive situation with the different classes, and we talk about different colors of people, and we play a game with a construction paper. We also talk about feelings, inside feelings and outside feelings. As you will notice, there were very few Black children to perform, and so you have to use what you have. So I had these sweet little white kids with a few little Black kids scattered in, and they did a wonderful job, and they learned a wonderful lesson. Because when they had to research their characters, and they had to become those characters. And when we talked about friends, and we talked about how we become friends, and whether or not does it make any difference whether you are a friend to me or to her or the other. And the children were wonderful. They don't have a lot of preconceived notions about the things that adults have. What they feel, it comes out. And when I said to them, when you become Harriet Tubman,
you have to feel like Harriet Tubman. When you play the part of Frederick Douglass, and as you can see, he really felt Frederick Douglass. And so that was we have a basis. I had to build a foundation for the kids, because you just don't throw them into a situation. They learn in steps. Sometimes they're baby steps, and then they grow. And when you work with children, you learn so much from them. And hopefully they will learn from you. And so it didn't make any difference to those children what color of the personality they were playing. They put their hearts and souls in it. And that's how, and I always feel that those children, the children who have become involved in a teaching a situation like listen to the drums, when they learn that the most important thing about people is that we're, number one, before we're anything, we're human. And we're human beings, and I say that to them. Before you're black or white or whatever, you are a human being. And you have to treat each other the same way that you would like. So it was a wonderful experience with the children, and those children who have had this experience, hopefully they will take the experience with them and help our country heal.
Thank you so much. Are you okay for maybe 2 more?
Yes.
All right, we have a 2-part question here. What a wonderful production. And you might not be able to see the chat thread, but it's filled with accolades. But the question is, when was it produced? And
I'm sorry.
And then, do you have any advice on how we can all be better advocates for people of color and create a just society?
You mean it was produced at the Seacoast Rep in February in 2002, and as most of my plays, I'm usually asked to come to do something for Black History Month, but of course the kids we learned that Black history is American history. So the other part, I'm sorry, the other part of the question was?
Sure. Do you have any advice on how we can all be better advocates for people of color and create a just society?
Yes. We need number one, that fruit of the spirit that I spoke of earlier, love, joy, peace. Those are the things that I feel that we as a people need to practice. Because when you look beyond the color of a person, there's more than the color. There's an inside, as I would tell the children. There's an inside of you. You can't see it, but it's there. And inside of you, you have feelings. And I think one of the things that most importantly is that sometimes people lose sight on the fact that Black people have feelings. We bleed, we mourn. Some of us are really smart, some of us are not so smart, same as in other cultures. We're just people down here trying to live together. But it's hard to do because there are other people who feel differently. And so what has to happen is that we need to come together. You can't force a person to change his or her heart. There are different ways in which we can try to meet people. And first of all, try to learn something about them. Like these young people, they had to do research. They had to look up, and we had little games that we played to emphasize the importance of being a human being and treating others the way we would like to be treated. And so, until we can get to that point where we lose sight on where a person comes from, what color they are, then we will not be able to reach that goal. But as long as we we have our children. And as long as what we do with our children, and sometimes we have to start with the children because their minds are young. They don't have all of the notions that older people have gathered over the years. So we just have to come together and do the things that we need to do as human beings, love each other.
All right, we have one more question, and that is sort of where are they now? Have you ever bumped into a child, well, once a child who was in your production later on, and have they ever commented to you about the effect on them having been in the play?
Well, I thought maybe a question like that will come up, and I had maybe, so what I did, I have something here that I have done, that I have met them and I have seen them, and they're the same nice sweet kids, even though grown up, and I just always love to see them, and we always talk about drums, and so I just like to read it. It says, "It has never been more evident when I had the opportunity to meet one of those thespians, perhaps as a college or university student, a parent, some with stellar careers, many remembering fondly their character in the play, the music, dance, the knowledge that they were given the opportunity to be a part of a teaching tool that added to their humaneness." And it is so true. I've met many children after 34 years of teaching. I've had many young minds that come my way, and they made a difference to me. And many have said to me, "Mrs. Edwards, you were my best teacher." Of course, that made me smile. But then I would always try to say to them, "You were a pretty good student." And they were, because they were a human being, trying to learn their ABCs or all the little games I would taught them, the songs. It was a pleasure. That's the biggest part of the most, it's hard to say right now because I get filled up when I start talking about children. But we do have to be careful and take care of our children, because they are wonderful. They're wonderful human beings that help us get along through life. So before I get too far into that, I think I'd better stop.
That is all for the questions, but is there anything else you would care to share?
Could I just read this as an ending, to this evening? It really has me feel, and this may answer one of the questions. I've had several occasions to witness what can happen when children, even at the tender age of a second or third grader, they are able to become engaged in such an experience and learn from it. Possibly realize how they may become part of the solution to problems with others who may be different from them. One which builds community between us as human beings. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Royaline. I gotta say, all the countless hours on the committee, the highlight was being at your house and meeting you and Kelvin. So you mentioned friendship earlier, and we're gonna have a video of one of your friends, Joni Lincoln. And,
oh, my dear friend Joni. Yes.
So why don't we show that video now?
Good evening, friends. When we moved to Portsmouth, New Hampshire 4 years ago, after 43 years of living overseas in Europe, Africa, and Israel, I met Royaline Edwards and her husband Kel at a gathering at Green Acre Bahá'í Center for Learning over the river in Eliot, Maine. We discovered that we both love music. She's very modest, but is actually an excellent, somewhat self-taught pianist who can play almost anything by ear and can even, to my surprise and admiration, improvise in F-sharp major, a difficult key for many classically trained pianists. We gradually came to know one another. Sometimes she would come to things at Green Acre. We visited in each other's homes, and she invited me to play the piano in a service at the New Hope Baptist Church. We became friends, me in my 8th decade, and she in her 9th. What a gift. I discovered more about Royaline's over 50 years of living in the Portsmouth area with her husband Kel, a mechanical engineer who worked at the Portsmouth Naval Base. They raised their family here in a predominantly Caucasian environment while we were raising our children in the middle of French-speaking equatorial Africa. I learned that she loves children. She had taught in grammar schools in the Seacoast region for over 30 years. As she told me about and played for me parts of the musical she had composed for Black History Month, parts of which you have also now seen. Royaline's creativity just continues to grow over the decades. As mentioned by others, she recently published her somewhat autobiographical book, Candy, about how, as a little girl, her family was part of the great migration of African Americans coming out of the South and heading north in hopes of a better life. She recounts so gently, yet poignantly, how little Candy, at the beginning of that voyage north, realizes that they were sitting in a train car reserved for Black people only, and asks her mother, "But Mama, why don't white people like us? Did we do something bad to them?" I think reading this book is an important learning opportunity for white people such as myself. In her gentle but steady way, Royaline shares chapter after chapter the raw truth about some aspects of our most challenging issue, our race relations here in North America, yet without provocation or accusation, no calling out. Some of us are left asking ourselves, was that really how it was? And then, is it still true? And so what can I, as a white person, do now in 2020? The book is quite short, written in a clear and uncomplicated manner, a learning experience for all ages, for middle and high school students as well as adults. Friendship is precious. I feel we need more and more of it, particularly between people of different backgrounds, cultures, and colors. Once we can begin to appreciate the idea of unity in diversity, really learn and study about each other's background history, see the noble soul in one another, create an environment of trust, we can build a better future together, work harder, walking in serried lines, and in our efforts to change our society from one of a me people to one of a we people. And this is what Royaline has been doing all her life. May others follow her example. And may this Sarah Farmer Peace Award bring her happiness and encourage her to keep right on producing and creating works of art that help to unite mankind and bring peace to our world in disarray. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that message, Joni. Well, friends, it's been a beautiful evening, and we hope you've all enjoyed it. And we hope you've been inspired to make a personal commitment for this twofold moral imperative of both transforming ourselves and then transforming the world. But more than anything, personally, what I wanted to get out of this evening was ensuring that we gave Royaline B. Edwards the appropriate kudos, respect, and that she enjoyed herself this evening. We have two more brief things. We're going to have another video by Marty Quinn. And this one is on the theme of race and how it is one of the major barriers to peace. And then I'll come back on very briefly and show you how you can nominate someone for a Peace Award. So let's see Marty's video. Well, friends, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I put a link to the Sarah Farmer Peace Award nomination form in the chat. This whole presentation will be recorded, is being recorded, and will be on greenacre.news within the coming week. We also can send this link out to all participants. So if you know someone who you feel merits the Sarah Farmer Peace Award, please nominate them for next year. And we look forward to your submissions. Well, friends, it's been a beautiful evening. Thank you so much. And Royaline, we hope we've honored you. And to all those, have a good night. Thank you so much for coming. Take care, friends.
We gotta have joy, true in our hearts with strength we can't destroy. People hear us through our voice. The world knows there's no choice.